How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the chaos, the carnage, the general lawlessness that's happening right now in Portland, Oregon, and how the mayor, Ted Wheeler, is in large part responsible for what's going on. Now, I'm not going to say all the rioting, the looting, and the shooting and carrying on is totally Ted Wheeler's fault. I'm not going to say that, but he's not actually helping the situation. He's making it worse. He's out there aligning himself with the so-called protesters, really rioters, insurrectionists. Now, before I go any further, let's roll this clip. In this clip, you'll see Ted Wheeler at a so-called protest, really a riot, trying to speak. He was not very successful at speaking, but he was trying to speak. What he was attempting to say will tell you all you need to know, really. That'll pretty much explain it in very simple terms. But after we get done watching that, I'll talk about what he tried to say there. I'll talk about the reaction from the so-called protesters that were in his audience. After we get done with that, I'll give you more context, my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler was caught in the middle, getting tear gassed along with the crowd. Earlier, the mayor pledged solidarity with the protesters, but he got a mixed reaction.
The reason I'm here tonight is to stand with you no matter what. With you no matter what.
Dan Springer has more from Seattle. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Brett. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler was at last night's protest for several hours, but it probably didn't go as he had planned. He was shouted down when he tried to speak.
If we are not able to get the federal administration to back off and leave our city, it will happen all across the United States, jeopardizing our United States Constitution.
Wheeler also got a front seat at the violence. In fact, he got hit with tear gas along with others in the crowd when protesters were trying to destroy a new fence put up around the federal courthouse yesterday. Arsonists set fires, some threw fireworks at federal officers, and they responded with many rounds of tear gas and non-lethal munitions. After getting hit with tear gas, Wheeler's security team tried to get him out of the area and finally took him inside a city building a few blocks away. All this happened after the Portland City Council passed an ordinance banning the city police department from assisting or in any way coordinating with federal law enforcement. A stunning move, really, since mutual aid among all levels of law enforcement is a long tradition. Also yesterday, a city commissioner, Joanne Hardesty, accused federal officers of setting fires outside the courthouse to make the protesters look bad. She provided no evidence.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I've said this before in previous videos. Ted Wheeler, the so-called mayor of Portland, Oregon, is the chief Black Lives Matter leader, the chief Antifa leader in his city. It's clear what's going on, and what he said or what he tried to say out there is just more proof for what I've been saying. Talking about, oh, we're with you, 100% we're with you. And he's also against the federal agents coming into the city to calm things down, to ensure the citizens' safety, to protect the federal buildings. So it's like, okay, if you don't want any external help, if you are aligning yourself with the rioters who are trying to overthrow the government, really trying to make sure the police aren't there, what are you really doing? Your words make me believe that you are on the side of those that want to see Portland just go down the tubes. And quite frankly, Portland's been in decline for a very long time, at least since 2010, maybe even before that. You let just all these drug addicts come in, do whatever they want. You are encouraging and or setting up homeless encampments. And really all a homeless encampment is in a place like Oregon is a drug zone. It's a place where you can go shoot heroin, smoke meth, and do whatever you want to do. Okay. It's not because, oh, we have housing insecurity. It's not about that. Okay. Your regular everyday homeless person does not live the way they live in Portland, Oregon, in complete filth, surrounded by just garbage and drugs and everything else. That's a drug addict that has no other choice but to be homeless, because you can't cook meth in an apartment building if a landlord knows about it. But different story, I digress. My whole point is that you are enabling general lawlessness, general just decrepit behavior, you're going to get this as a result. And the funny part about this is that a lot of these so-called protesters, really rioters, insurrectionists, Marxists, anarchists, communists, they don't even like Ted Wheeler, because what's their chief slogan over there on the far loony left? ACAB. And what does that stand for? All cops are bastards. It stands for other things, but they use it in that context. Now, fun fact, Ted Wheeler is not only the mayor of Portland, he's also the police commissioner. That's kind of a dual role that is always held by the mayor of Portland. As far as I know, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. So if you noticed in the clip, somebody had a police officer's hat like over Ted Wheeler's head because they want to identify him as a police officer. They don't like police. They don't like authority. They don't like rules, which is weird because when you're talking about communism, Marxism, it's predicated upon rules. You got to have rules, make it happen. You know, a lot of these people that are out there so-called protesting will call the police in the New York Minute if they were to get accosted by a person on the other side of the political aisle. They're called the police for not wearing the mask, for not social distancing. Meanwhile, they can do whatever they want to do and it's fine. Okay. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's generally how they operate over in Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, Los Angeles. The left coast in general is like that. Okay. These people out there doing whatever they want to do, don't want to follow laws, but they want to have you follow every law that they come up with. That's what's happening here. People like Ted Wheeler in Portland and also Lori Lightfoot over in Chicago, they say we don't need the federal agents. Agents stay home. We can control things here. Matter of fact, I think Ted Wheeler said there's no need for the tear gas because he did get tear gas, and that was hilarious. It's like, why are you out there getting tear gas? Like, what is the purpose? Are you just part of them? Like I said, he's a chief, BLM leader, Antifa leader. But I digress. My whole point is that they say there's no need for the external forces. There's no need to do anything more than what's happening. There's no need for the tear gas. Meanwhile, right after you said the comment about the tear gas, the so-called protesters set a courthouse on fire. They set a federal building on fire, and it's on tape. And there's plenty of evidence all over the place. I'll be playing it all throughout this video. I'll put it on a link in the box below as well. You can see people getting beat in their head with objects, blunt instruments, people bleeding, people getting hit with tear gas, all kind of buildings on fire. One super genius 3,000 IQ individual tried to break into a place where there are a bunch of federal agents in Portland, and he got his hind parts summarily surrounded and stomped into wine. You know, not quite literally. They didn't stop him that much, but they did get him, surround him, and make sure he didn't try to break in anymore. And I'm hearing about they may use live rounds on the so-called protesters. I'm not sure if that's a true statement or false statement. It's just kind of out there. I think what they're doing right now is flashbang, tear gas, that kind of thing. Maybe you might get hit in your head with a stick if you get a little bit too close and try to be too handsy. Maybe that might happen. But for right now, they're not really being handled that badly. And the guys that are out there in Portland are there to protect the federal buildings. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to have Operation Legend kick in. That's separate away from protecting the federal buildings. Trump is going to send federal agents to places like Chicago, maybe even Portland, Oregon, or New York, or wherever they're needed to help reduce the violence. And like I said in previous videos, once you go out there to the neighborhood and talk to the regular everyday people, especially in the ghetto, in the low income area, they're not going to say, oh, please reduce the police force. Please, let's police. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, we need more police. We need more security because it's crazy out here. You got little kids getting shot. Matter of fact, Operation Legend is named after Legend Taliaferro, a 4-year-old boy who was shot and killed while he was sleeping in his bed. Okay. You got little kids getting killed for no reason, straight bullets on purpose by mindless, brainless, drug addicted people. So you got to have external help to come in. All right. And you need to bolster the existing police force. A lot of these police forces would do better if they just had the required resources. Don't try to cut stuff. I think Gretchen Whitmer has defunded the police up there in Michigan. They're trying to do the same thing in New York City. Same thing over left coast, Seattle, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland. What are we really doing? who are we trying to please here? Are we trying to please the so-called protesters? People that only don't even live in the area, people that have no real dog in the fight when it comes to that particular city. They can come in, rabble rouse for however long they want, and then go back home to the mom's basement, eating Pop-Tarts and whatnot. That's generally how that goes. Meanwhile, people that live there must deal with the destruction that you left. I do not like Black Lives Matter as an organization. I don't like the phrase. I don't like the sentiment. I don't like the tone. I don't like anything about it. Every time I see it, there's always a problem associated with it. That's just facts, okay? If we can get rid of all the negativity in it, then I might even be for it. But you really can't, because it is inherently divisive just to even say it. Black Lives Matter. What about everybody else? Oh, well, black people going through X, Y, and Z. We got to focus on them. Everybody has their issues. Everybody has their problems. And not just because... And just because you are of a certain race does not mean that you're going to automatically have these issues and have these problems. Okay, I'm black. I don't have no problems. I got a great life. Life is beautiful for me. Okay, but somebody else might not feel the same way, even in my own family, even one of my friends. And that's not relegated to race. This whole thing is divisive. It creates enemies. It creates division. It's no thing that I want to be associated with. So let's just get past all this and let's let the federal agents come in there and do what they got to do and stop trying to defund the police, give the money back, let them do what they got to do to help the citizens of their particular city be safe. That's all that they got to do. I'm not trying to hear about any virtue signaling, nothing like that from these leftist nut job mayors like Ted Wheeler, Lori Dirtyfoot, Bill de Blasio, and everybody else. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that I'm correct by saying that people like Ted Wheeler, Lori, and everybody else, they're doing the wrong thing? They're on the wrong side of history, as the cool kids say on the left. They're on the wrong side of history. They're not doing things that are going to help their constituency or help their city in general. All they're going to do is just bring more crime, more violence, more chaos and destruction. If I'm right about that, let me know why in the comments below. Or am I wrong? Should we just tell the federal agents to stay home and don't come to these cities where you have an uptick in violence, 100% increase in shootings, 300%, 600% increase in shootings? Do we just not care about that? If we don't care about that, then that goes back to my point that I've said in previous videos about how they don't really care if the black on black murder rate jumps up by 200, 300, 400%, or any other murder rate or suicide rate or drug addiction rate. They don't care about any of that as long as they're able to get their political message out there and their political goals met and accomplished. Then that's all that really matters. As long as it's all about Orange Man bad and we want this particular thing, we want that particular thing, they don't care about the collateral damage. And I think that's really a crying shame. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.